A state lawmaker describes a new attempt by former President Donald Trump to pressure Wisconsin Republicans to decertify the state's presidential results. 12 News' Matt Smith is joining us now live. Matt, the new account is coming from Assembly Speaker Robin Vos.
Vos telling us in an interview for Upfront, Trump called him last week just after the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruling declaring absentee ballot drop boxes illegal in the state. That phone call happening, then Vos says Trump blasting him on social media. When's the last time you talked to the former president, President Trump?
Within the last week.
Within the last week?
Yeah.
Before or after he tweeted about you?
Before.
And what was that conversation like?
It's one of those that it's very consistent. He makes his case, which I respect. He would like us to do something different in Wisconsin. I explained that it's not allowed under the Constitution. He has a different opinion, then he put the tweet out. So that's it. Yeah.
The former president's most recent attempt to pressure Wisconsin Republicans to decertify Wisconsin's 2020 results.
What?
Now coming after the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled the use of absentee ballot drop boxes is illegal.
The court case, as you read it, does not go back and say what happened in 2020 was illegal. It just says going forward it can't happen.
The answer not appearing to satisfy the former president, so he took to social media. Vos, a longtime professional rhino, Republican in name only, always looking to guard his flank, will be doing nothing about the amazing Wisconsin Supreme Court decision, Trump said. The Democrats would like to sincerely thank Robin and all of his fellow rhinos for letting them get away with murder. How would you describe your relationship with him? Because after he comes out and calls you a rhino and saying you're allowing Democrats to get away with murder.
Yep, I mean, I think we all know Donald Trump is Donald Trump. There's very little that we can do to try to control or predict what he will do.
Yes, because he's insane. You understand? He's insane. That was last week. They just reported it yesterday, but last week, the president, former, who lost an election almost 2 years ago, called the Republican Speaker of the House in the state of Wisconsin to ask him to decertify the election that happened a year and a half ago. Again. And, because Joe Biden is, not the crispest of orators. He's the one that is insane. He's the one that has to be, ousted from his office under the 25th Amendment. No, I'm not kidding. This actually occurred yesterday. Troy Nehls from Texas, who should be very concerned about the 7 years of Greg Abbott and the crazy gun laws there, producing such an increase in mass shootings throughout the state, to the point where Texas gun owners are saying it's perverse here, okay? Instead, Troy Nehls, a Republican from Texas, is screaming and yelling at Pete Buttigieg yesterday that Joe Biden needs his cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment.
President Biden's mental state, and for good reason. Sadly, he shakes hands with ghosts and imaginary people. He falls off bicycles. Even at the White House Easter celebration, the Easter Bunny had to guide him back into his safe place.
Oh my God.
Cue cards that say sit here or end of speech, which he actually states, that is, if he stays awake. So my question for you is, sir, have you spoken with any other cabinet members about implementing the 25th Amendment on President Biden?
First of all, I'm glad to have a president who can ride a bicycle. And
That's your
I
question.
will look beyond the insulting nature of that question and make clear to you that the President of the United States...
Have you spoken to any other cabinet members about implementing the 25th Amendment on President Biden?
Of course not.
Please allow the
We ought to
witness.
know
Have you
that the
emailed,
President of
this
the
is my
United
time,
States-
have you emailed any members
President of
with
the
the
United
executive
States.
branch about the president's health or
President
cognitive
of the
decline,
United States
including
is
text
as vigorous
messages
a
from your
colleague
private
or
phone?
boss as I have
I
ever had the
figured
pleasure
this.
of working with.
I mean, they always do this. They operate in such bad faith, and then they show memes that they get off of Gab and Facebook and Rumble, and it's just memes. That's and he has his staffer holding up the cardboard to insinuate in the most insulting way possible that Pete Buttigieg, our Secretary of Transportation, needs to get the cabinet together and invoke the 25th Amendment against Joe Biden because he fell off his bicycle. Meanwhile, you have the former president of the United States, almost 2 years after the fact, calling the House Speaker in the state legislature in Wisconsin and telling him he needs to decertify an election that happened over 2 years ago.
If someone had come up to you on the street and someone said in July of 2022 that they were trying to overturn the election that was held almost 2 years ago, you'd say, this is like a tinfoil hat crazy person.
Right.
I mean, the idea that the president, former president, thinks this could be overturned is so bizarre. I don't know if it counts for criminal intent. It's almost hard to wrap your mind around that as something, but it just shows that the former president is obsessed with this issue and is not letting it go. And if they are still looking for criminal intent, that is potentially more evidence.
Yes, it is. This is why, I don't know if you're familiar, but this is why when you get sued or you're under criminal investigation or anything of that nature, the first thing that your attorney should tell you and will tell you is don't give interviews. The president of the United States, the former guy, the guy who lost in November of 2020, in the summer of 2022, is psychotically still making phone calls, asking speakers of state legislatures to decertify, which isn't even possible under our Constitution. Okay, it just isn't. But he's asking him to decertify the results of an election, which is more evidence that Trump is never, ever, ever, ever going to stop telling the big lie. And he's never going to be somebody who is sane.